Welcome to our channel on near-death experiences, NDEs. We'll explore stories of people who've been on the brink between life and death, returning with new perspectives. These accounts offer a unique glimpse into existence, life's meaning, and the universe. Each video is a journey through transformative experiences and spiritual discovery. We're creating a space of understanding and sharing for these extraordinary stories. Whether you're here out of curiosity or seeking comfort, we hope to bring you peace and awareness. Join us on this journey of spiritual exploration. Every moment is an opportunity to grow and love. Thank you for being here with us.
The author introduces himself as an avid listener of Art Bell, regularly tuning in during his car journeys. He fondly recalls an episode of the program that prompted him to reflect on his personal experience, leading him to conclude that we are not human beings seeking a spiritual experience, but rather spiritual beings living a human experience. In June 1992, the author was celebrating 20 years of marriage to his high school sweetheart, whom he deeply loved. However, as the saying goes, love is blind, and the author admits he didn't fully comprehend the situation he was in. Only later did he discover that his wife was developing multiple personalities due to unaddressed traumas from her youth. The relationship became increasingly difficult and mortifying, but the author's love prevented him from seeing reality. The stress caused by the situation and his inability to adapt to his wife's multiple personalities led him to blame himself for the marriage's problems. He even began to think that his family would be better off without him. In desperation, he started praying to God to free him from this hell and grant him the peace promised by Christ's teachings. As an old saying goes, be careful what you pray for because it might come true. In the author's case, this proved to be accurate, and his prayers were answered within just 3 months. One evening, upon returning from a trip, the author experienced severe heartburn after dinner. His eldest daughter, then 14, noticed his paleness and insisted he go to the hospital. Despite his wife's presence, the author decided to go to bed, asking her to wake him at 7 o'clock the next morning. However, the following day, as his wife was preparing for work, the author realized he hadn't slept at home and was ready for another trip, refusing to be taken to the emergency room. Later that evening, the author did go to the emergency room, where the doctor informed him he would be kept for tests the next day. Despite his protests, he was admitted to a single room around 1 in the morning. Agitated by the trauma he had endured, he began watching television. At 3 a.m., a nurse scolded him for still being awake, turned off the TV, and attached a heart rate monitor, explaining that they were very busy and didn't want to neglect any patients. Finally, she turned off the lights and ordered him to sleep. The author, aware that he was on the verge of physical and emotional exhaustion, surrendered and decided to rest. Raised as a Methodist Christian, he had read nothing that prepared him for the experience he was about to have, relying only on his religious convictions. While asleep, he was enveloped in a blinding light. His first instinct was to cover his eyes, but he quickly realized this was no ordinary light. The author describes the sensation as an indescribable combination of warmth, mutual devotion, peace, and above all, love. The word euphoria doesn't do justice to this feeling, just as the term love is insufficient to describe what he experienced, even when compared to a mother's love for her newborn multiplied by 1,000. The author recounts immediately feeling a sense of being home and not wanting to leave. However, he was told that it wasn't his time yet, that he still had much to do, and that he needed to take care of his daughters. Mentioning his daughters, the author remembered the love he felt for them and understood that it was right to return. He was told that upon opening his eyes, he shouldn't be afraid but remain calm, follow the doctor's instructions, and that he would return home after 4 days. Upon waking, the author found himself face to face with a nurse. Surprisingly, he didn't even become agitated when he noticed another nurse injecting him with lidocaine. Suddenly, a man entered the room with a defibrillator, but the author remained calm and jokingly asked the nurse if they were going to spank him with those paddles. The nurse, initially shocked, smiled and assured him they wouldn't. At 6 a.m., the author went into arrhythmia, and the alarm began to sound. By the time the medical staff reached the door, he was already in cardiac arrest. The nurse saved his life, and surprisingly, He suffered no heart damage. The doctor called it a miracle, explaining that his heart was strong and that during the arrest, the heart muscle had retained enough blood to keep itself alive. The author was immediately transferred to the coronary unit to be stabilized and undergo a catheterization, which revealed two strange blockages. The left frontal artery was 85% obstructed, while the main artery was 95% blocked. The right side, however, showed no blockage. The doctor advised him to remain calm to avoid another cardiac collapse, which could have resulted in losing 2/3 of his heart and needing a transplant. Surprisingly, the author maintained his composure and faced the situation with humor, refusing to worry excessively. After being stabilized, he was transferred to another hospital for angioplasty. As predicted during his NDE, he was discharged and returned home 4 days later. The author recounts that his wife reacted negatively whenever he referred to his NDE. During this period, she was unfaithful to him and initiated divorce proceedings. When the author told her that he had been instructed to take care of their daughters, his wife interpreted this as a sign that God was against her, making the situation even more difficult. A year later, the author found himself in the same depressed state due to his wife's behavior. Doctors explained that sometimes multiple angioplasties are necessary to completely resolve the problem, and that the formation of a new blockage in the treated area was fairly common. The author, however, felt that his condition had returned to its previous state. Almost a year after his cardiac arrest, while at the lake with his wife, the author was struck by lightning. Sitting in a folding chair next to the camper, with his wife standing in the doorway, lightning struck the ground, extended, and hit him in the left hand, crossing his chest and exiting from his right hand before striking the picnic table. The author recounts lighting up like a neon lamp, feeling pain in his jaw, and developing blisters on the fingertips of his right hand. 3 days after recovering, the author returned to the hospital for a new catheterization. The cardiologist was surprised to find that there was no more plaque and only a small amount of scar tissue remained from the previous operation. The doctor couldn't explain this sudden improvement. 2 years later, the author divorced during the Christmas period. His eldest daughter told him that this would be the best Christmas gift she had ever received, and the author admits she was right. The daughter stayed with him until she was 21 and got married, while the author continued to care for his younger daughter. 3 months after separating from his wife, the author stopped taking stomach medication, and 8 months later, he also discontinued his heart medication. The doctor, shaking his head, confirmed that he no longer needed medication. In conclusion, the author states that he is not completely happy, but he is satisfied with his life and calmly awaits the moment when he can return home.
If you enjoyed this video or you're interested in the topics we cover on this channel, I'd be really grateful if you could subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future content. Share the video with someone you think might appreciate it. Thank you so much for your support. Preface: near-death experiences, NDEs, can be profound, life-changing events. Remember, NDEs are subjective experiences, not proof of an afterlife or a guide for living. Channel purpose: this channel shares NDE stories and information, providing a platform for open discussion without promoting specific beliefs. Disclaimer: this content doesn't replace professional medical or psychological advice. If struggling with mental health issues, seek professional help immediately. If you've had an NDE and need support, consult a therapist experienced with NDEs. We don't promote suicide or self-harm. If considering suicide, contact a prevention lifeline immediately. Suicide prevention resources: National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255. Crisis text line, text HOME to 741741. Conclusion: we hope you find this channel informative. For questions, please contact us. Remember, suicide prevention is crucial. If you're struggling, seek help. You're not alone.